Hello.
Good evening, everybody. How's it going?
Hey, hi, Caitlin. It's going well. How are you?
Okay. I'm in a very dark place.
You
L
look like you're in a dark place.
literally, not emotionally.
Oh, okay, good, good.
So in terms of where I am, so there is a Justice Knox meeting. This is why we are meeting at 6 instead of 6:30. There
Right.
is a Justice Knox meeting, and Heskamuna has a group that's participating in this meeting. And so I wanted to, since I was in town for it, I wanted to go. It's their annual assembly in which I believe everybody votes on what issue we want to focus on, and to lobby the government to run Knoxville better. So it sounds like a really good cause. It seems like it's my first time doing it, so I don't know that for sure. So that's why we are doing this a little early.
Are you
We will
bundled
win
up?
enough, I think. Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
I just didn't really I didn't want to bother them to like ask for a room to do the class, and I just figure they're busy enough. Um so I'm just in my car and it's okay. So I've got a coat on. I'm good.
Okay.
If I need to turn on the engine for heat, I've done that before where I've needed to turn on the engine for uh, for on hot days when I've needed to turn on the air conditioning. So I might have to turn on the engine for heat at some point. But if that's the case, we'll figure that out.
Okay.
So if we need to. Okay. All right. So maybe just another moment or two, and then we will get into it. So um, for those who were here, I think it was 2 weeks ago, when we met last. By the way, 2 weeks from today, we will meet at the normal 6:30 time. It's the Monday prior to Thanksgiving, which I know for some people the entire week is Thanksgiving week. I don't really know when that happened. I thought it was a weekend. Now it's a long weekend, and it's a week. It's a whole thing. But anyway, it's the Monday of Thanksgiving week. Please join us if you can. Hopefully, the fact that it's on Zoom will make it easy. If you can't make it, it's okay. And obviously, we will continue to live stream as usual. So, okay, so that's announcements for everybody, and whoever's here, we're happy to study. When we did this 2 weeks ago, when we started talking about Psalm 25, and
Mhm.
for reasons that I'm not remembering at the moment, although of course I could go check the tape, um, we wound up spending the bulk of the time talking about Cain killing Abel, which was, I mean, I think it's a very rich conversation. I don't remember how we got from point A to point B, but we did, and that's okay. But I want to get into the psalm now for real. If we find another tangent that that is relevant, we'll certainly do that. So let me share the screen. Okay, we have
Mhm.
Marcus is joining us. So come on down.
Hi,
Good.
Marcus.
Hi, hello.
All
Welcome.
right. Very, very good. Very good. So we're gonna do a website URL. Okay. 1 second here. Sorry. I have to say, the fact that we can do this at all, to sit in a
Ah,
car and to do this in this way, is pretty amazing. Um,
it is amazing.
there is a there's a song by Paul Simon from his album Graceland. The initial song is called Boy in the Bubble. And the chorus of the song begins with, "These are the days of miracle and wonder. This is a long distance call, the way the camera follows us in slow-mo, the way we look to us all." And I just, I think of that sometimes because, no matter how challenging the world is, and it is challenging, we still live in just an absolutely amazing time. And so, you know, who knew that we could do this? Um, all right. So, okay. Um, I have the text in front. It may be a little complicated for me depending on my setup here to call upon people to read, although from time to time I will do that. Um, Actually, you know what I'll do is maybe that's a little easier. Yeah, let's try that. Okay. Okay. So wait, why did we go to 23? I didn't want to go to 23. I want 25. There we go, 25. All right. So we're gonna do the vertical way, if that's okay.
Rabbi,
Um, yeah.
before we start, I know you talked about, I think on Sunday, about how the Psalms are attributed to David, but probably not written by David. When it says of David, does that mean written by David?
So that's the yeah, I mean, so the Psalms certainly, at least a lot of them, certainly depict themselves as Psalms written by David.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the question is, were they actually written by David, right? I mean, it's
Well, in author,
um
it says for David.
right, right. So sometimes say like, like so in Hebrew you have LeDavid, um, which I mean the lamed is the prefix, which can mean sometimes it can mean for, it can mean of, it can mean to. It just kind of depends on the context. So Leda, so there is quite a bit of doubt whether King David himself, to the extent that there was an actual historical King David, there's a lot of doubt whether he would have actually written these Psalms. What we do know is we have an author who depicts him or herself as David in some of these Psalms.
Okay.
So it's, and I think writers like to kind of, you know, play around with this sometimes, right? I mean, I think, what is it? I think there was a Kurt Vonnegut novel in which, in the middle of one of his novels, a character walks in who is Kurt Vonnegut. Like he just sort of inserts himself as a character in one of his fiction books. And so, so I guess the modern term might be cosplaying, right? Is somebody cosplaying as King David? Probably, I mean, I think that's probably the most, I don't know why I'm going backwards here. But that's probably the most likely scenario that somebody is actually, cosplaying as King David,
Mm-hmm.
or pretending as if they are him. What is happening here? I'm a little confused what this screen is doing right now. But yeah, so that hopefully that answers that part. Um, okay, I'm the text is bringing the screen is bringing me to a bunch of different things. So let me see what happens here. That's not what I wanted. Okay. Again, I may have to, depending on the setup here, I may have to alter this just a little bit, alter our normal way of teaching, because um, I was able to teach by phone last time, but today may be a little more complicated. So it may be a lot more lecture for me. I hope that's okay.
That's okay.
All right.
Ah.
So, okay. All right. So we're back. So to start it out, right? LeDavid elech Adonai nafshi esa, of David, as the little superscription. Adonai, I set my hope on you. And then we go into an acrostic of sorts. I think we did talk about this last time,
Mm-hmm.
and the idea that we are going, Aleph and then sort of bet. I mean, in other words, like verse 2, the second word belongs with, begins with the letter bet. So it's not the first word beginning with bet. So it's close. Then you have the third verse, which begins with Gimel, and on we go. Um, we talked about the idea of you know you know let me not be disappointed. Let me not let none who look to God be disappointed. That's probably when we got into the whole Cain and Abel discussion,
Mm-hmm.
because of the idea that Cain's sacrifice was not accepted. So I know we got through the first three verses at the very least. So now we can go into verse 4. Um, so far, in terms of the content here, it's um, looking to God for approval. I think is the basic thing, right? God, may I be acceptable to you, and therefore, at least at the end of verse 2, uh, may my enemies not exult over me, meaning, give me the protection that I need. Um, Now we go into verse 4, which I think is a little bit more into this. So we have verse 4, Dirachecha Adonai hodieni, orchotecha lamdeni. Let me know your paths, Adonai. Teach me your ways. Um, Now, the Robert Alter translation is a little different. It's your ways, Adonai, inform me, your paths instruct me. So, whereas the translation that you have on the screen is this sort of aspirational bit, we aspire, we're aspiring to know and understand God. Um, that The Alter translation indicates that it's fait accompli, that it's already happened. Um, the comment from Alter, I think, is interesting. And he writes, though the genre of this psalm is a supplication, instead of the usual central emphasis on the acute distress of the speaker, of which there are some expressions in this poem, the text instead stresses the speaker's sense of having erred, which we're going to get to in a couple of verses, and his desire for guidance from God about the way he should follow. So there are numerous psalms where the narrator looks to God and says, um, please come to my aid. Please do not forsake me. Don't deny me, whatever you want to say. Because essentially I don't deserve it, or at least I don't deserve uh, to be maligned to the extent that I am. Um, this is one of those psalms, Alter is explaining, that there is some acknowledgement that maybe maybe that this person has a little something coming to them. Maybe they have made a mistake of some sort. And that is something, certainly, and that's an important distinction because, um, many times we will appeal to others and say, please help me. I've done nothing wrong. And then there are other times where you might say, please help me, even though I have done something wrong. Um, you're usually going to get a bit more um, sympathy from others when you take the latter path, or at least when you acknowledge, all right, look, I'm not perfect. Right? I am not blameless in this world. If all you do is say, I am innocent, I am innocent, I'm innocent, um, that very well may be 100% accurate. But if you do it all the time, maybe some people start to get suspicious because nobody's always innocent. Nobody's innocent all the time, right? So I think that's so that's a so that's something we're going to get into in a couple of moments. So then we go into the next couple of verses that really kind of highlight the same thing. Hadricheni va'amitecha v'lamdeni ki ata Elohein ishi odcha kiviti kol hayom. Guide me in your true way and teach me, for you are God, my deliverer. It is you I look to at all times. Zohor rachamecha Adonai v'chasadecha ki me'olam hema. Adonai, be mindful of your compassion and your faithfulness. They are old as time. Cue the music for Beauty and the Beast, tale as old as time. Yeah, my daughter's actually going to be in a school production of Beauty and the Beast put on by her class in next month. So she's been singing Beauty and the Beast songs for a while now. Um, so this is one of the anyway. So what you will notice here is that this is one of the points where the acrostic format doesn't quite hold up. This is because verse 5 began with the Hebrew letter Hey. Verse 6 began with the Hebrew letter Zayin. We skipped Vav, or so it appears. Right? We have skipped the letter Vav. So it's it's not entirely a perfect acrostic, but this is certainly not the only time in which we have flaws in the acrostic nature. Okay. So now in terms of accountability, now we have a verse that explains it. Chataot neurai ufsha'ai al tiskor chechastecha zechor liata leman tuvcha Adonai. Don't be mindful of my youthful sins and transgressions. In keeping with your faithfulness, consider what is in my favor as befits your goodness, Adonai. So there's an acknowledgement that this person's done something wrong. But of course, how does he or she couch it? We don't know the age of the narrator, right? We have no idea how old this narrator is. But whether this narrator is old or relatively young, they're blaming their transgressions on the folly of youth. Which is a typical crutch that we use, not without merit. Okay, not without merit. There have been plenty of times where, uh, it's like I'll talk to people that I've known for a long time, and we get to something where it's like, I can't believe I did that. I can't believe you. I can't believe that. In our defense, we were how old, right? There are times where that there are times where saying, you know what, I was younger then is a reasonable thing to state. Um, Although I do always love the Bob Dylan line from his song "My Back Pages." I but I was so much older then. I'm younger than that now. Love that line. Um, and it's so in other words, they're taking accountability, but with the idea of I didn't know any better. At least that's what it seems like uh to me. That it's we you know I didn't know any better, which again is sometimes a very reasonable thing to argue. But at least there's some accountability here, right? There are plenty of people, as we know, who are loath to take accountability ever. So I will take that.
So,
Um,
so how does alter translate this? Because I mean, if it is sort of in the perfect before, you
yeah,
have taught me your ways, and so uh, uh, gives this verse now very different meaning than what we had in this translation, where it says, "You will teach me your ways."
right. Um, so I would say it's more of a command form, and and he does something, and there's something he does something pretty interesting here. So it says so his translation of verse 7 is, my youth's offenses and my crimes recall not. In your kindness recall me, you, for the sake of your goodness, oh Adonai.
Okay, it's much more literally following the Hebrew, I see.
Much more literally. So especially the Zachor
Yeah,
Ata, right? The for the sake of your good, in your kindness, recall me, you. And what he comments regarding that is he says this startling juxtaposition is striking in the Hebrew, which otherwise would not idiomatically require the introduction of the second person pronoun after the imperative verb. That's a lot of grammar.
I mean, it
Um,
really sort of, I see. I mean, in the Hebrew, you have the altis kor zachar.
yeah,
I mean, it's the basically the same verb, uh, um, just in contrast to itself.
sure. Sure. No, that's fair. And so so yeah. So welcome to those who are here. I thought I mentioned, I'm sorry if I didn't remind enough people that we actually started at 6 tonight, but you can always go back to the YouTube recording and catch up. I do have a hard out at 7 p.m. I have to go into a meeting. So that's why I'm sitting here in the dark in my car, because I'm right outside where the meeting is. Um, and because of the setup here, I hope it's okay. I think it's going to be easiest if I do the reading tonight. So I hope that's okay for everybody here. As always, interrupt me when and if you have questions. Um, Marcus, do you like? Does that do you like the way Alter translates verse 7, or do you think that is that or does that still leave you with some questions?
I think it fits in with the rest, but I mean, because he followed it so, the structure of the Hebrew so strictly, it sounds really very awkward in English.
No question, no question. And this is just a reminder. Um, it's one of those reminders that yeah, there are just, I mean, this is one of the, I guess, the starkest reminders that Hebrew and English are really, really, really different, especially when you think of, older Hebrew as opposed to English. So,
These are,
yeah,
oh, it's poetry and somewhere 2.5, 3,000-year-old poetry. So, yeah.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Um, all right, so there's an acknowledgement that all right, well, I haven't been, completely up to snuff. Um, Now, in verse 8, you have Tovi Ashar Adonai, Al Ken Yureh Chata'im Badarach. Good and upright is Adonai, therefore God shows sinners the way. Okay. Um, that seems like kind of an, at least I have questions about that. Uh, about that. The alter explanation here is that the poet may be playing with the etymology of the word chataim. That's the second to last word, which alter translates as offenders, not as sinners, but offenders, which I mean, could be a very similar thing. He goes on to say, an offender suggests missing the target and hence by implication straying from the right way. The word for guide, which is yoreh, could also be a pun on to shoot, as Rabbi Israel Stein had suggested. So so what I think Alter is suggesting about this verse is that he's saying it's like God shows, I mean, if you were just to say, God shows sinners the way, well, that would seem weird because if God would be truly guiding the sinners, then hopefully God would be guiding the sinners in the right direction, not in the sinning direction. So what Alter is suggesting instead is that chataim means somebody who is missing a target, and yoreh is understood as somebody who is shooting at a target. In other words, as opposed to a willful, intentional sinner, we're talking about someone who aims at the mark and misses, which is a much different, or at least can be understood as a much different thing. As opposed to somebody saying, I'm going to do bad and I don't care. It's somebody saying, I'd like to do good. I'm just not especially successful at it.
Rabbi,
Yeah.
it's Mary
Yeah,
Linda.
yeah.
Sorry I'm late. I did have the right time on my planner,
Oh,
but
no, you're fine. You're fine.
but when you say misses the mark, is there a parallel in the text about when Jonathan shoots the arrow at David toward David, misses the mark, misses him?
Oh goodness, that's an excellent question. You know what?
Sorry.
No, great. Look, no, email me, and
Okay,
I'll to remind me so I can look it up.
I will do that.
Yeah, because that's great. I really like that. I mean, honestly, and to kind of talk about this sort of on a pedagogical level. One of the ways that I find is most effective in teaching about Yom Kippur to young children is that very is this very idea of missing the mark, of trying to shoot at a target but not quite getting there, because if we were to sit around, if we were to say, um put it this way, like explaining sin for young children, I mean, like, how sinful are young children, right? I mean, it's not really a fair thing. I don't know why this text is okay. Good. Um, yeah, teaching sin to young children is, I mean, I don't think you could look at a young child who is misbehaving and say that they are sinning. That's not fair, right? A young child is somebody who, maybe they're maybe they're not listening well. They're maybe that, whatever it might be. But to call a young child sinful is, I think, cruel. And so we don't teach the idea that that young children are sinful. It's that so what does it mean to say sorry for Yom Kippur on the Day of Atonement? It means that we say, well, we've been doing our best, but we missed the mark. We didn't quite make it, and we're gonna try to do better next time. So I think that's how we can make a little more sense of this all.
And I think that fits in probably a bit better in what comes in verse 9.
Right. So to jump right into that, okay. So Tovia Shar Adonai Al Kain. Oh no, okay, that
That
was
was
it.
8.
Yadrech Anavim B'Mishpat. Yeah. So yeah. Yadrech Anavim B'Mishpat. Vilamed Anavim Darko. He guides the lowly in the right path and teaches the lowly God's way. Now, the altar translation is pretty similar. It's right. God leads the lowly in justice and teaches the lowly God's way. So it's pretty similar. At least the two translations are. So again, this is a supplication, right? The major form of this, as Alter notes, is a supplication. But it's a supplication that in which there is some acknowledgement that, maybe I haven't exactly been on the upright path all the time. Okay. Questions or thoughts of the moment? Yes.
I mean, what strikes me here is that, okay, he's saying, I was a sinner, but instead of the wrath of God, it's more like he's portraying God as being merciful. He says he shows sinners, he guides, he teaches. It's not like a punishment, you've been bad kind of thing. It's more of a gentle correction.
Yeah. No, it definitely, it's definitely meant to be that, and with good reason. Because I mean, it's especially if you want to appeal to the idea that God's mercy, right? If you want to appeal to God's mercy, you don't want to go overboard on saying things like, well, we know, God, that you are typically really, really harsh. Instead, we want to emphasize the parts where you're willing to, take people by the hand and guide them. Okay, so into verse 10. Again, for those who are just showing up, I'm doing the reading just because I think it's a little easier for just the setup that I have, because I have to do this on my phone. So thank you for your patience, and again, feel free to jump in as you want. Kol orchot Adonai chesed ve'emet linotzrei v'rito ve'edotav. All Adonai's paths are steadfast love for those who keep the decrees of God's covenant. L'man shimcha Adonai v'salachta la'avoni ki ravhu. As befits your name, Adonai, pardon my iniquity, though it be great. That phrase, v'salachta la'avoni ki ravhu, that phrase I know appears in High Holiday liturgy, certainly Yom Kippur liturgy. Forgive my sin, though it be great. Which, we obviously have to, we have to say, obviously, that the sin is of great magnitude, not simply that it's great as in it's cool, that's great, that it's awesome. Where we're saying, pardon my iniquity, though it is substantial. Now, And then with verse 12, we go back to that theme that we spoke of, a little bit. Mizeh ha'ish yirei Adonai, yorenu b'derech yivchar. Whoever fears Adonai, he shall be shown what path to choose. And then this is in tandem with verse 13. Nafsho b'tov talin, v'zaro yirash aretz. That person shall live a happy life, and that person's children shall inherit the land. So a couple things. First of all, this hopefully reinforces the importance of the very first psalm, of Psalm 1, in terms of the themes of the book. Because the very beginning of Psalm 1 says, happy or fortunate are the ones who follow in God's ways. And this returns to it and then explains what that means, right? It means that they are personally happy and that his descendants will maintain their spot on the land. Now, with that said, according to Alter, this is actually it's really actually one basic blessing that they're talking about. Alter translates it as his life will repose in bounty, and his seed will inherit the earth. So really, it's not so much like of happiness as in feeling of good and positive feeling. It's more like good fortune, right? Good fortune awaits those who follow in the path. And Alter goes on to say that the subject of this sentence is the word nefesh, right? The word nafsho in Hebrew, nafsho, like his nefesh, is which means life or essential self. The orientation of vision, Alter goes on, is toward existence in the here and now. One who fears God will go to sleep each night, enjoying the good things of this world, and one's offspring will have a secure inheritance. So this is, this is one of those times where we, where we talk about the, contrasts in terms of religious outlook, in that at least in the sort of the Hebrew Bible outlook, which is that why are we doing this? Why are we going through life this way? Why are we, what is the benefit? The benefit is what we get to enjoy in this world. What might happen later to us as individuals, no one knows, or nothing substantial. Our legacy will be in our descendants. That is the long-term reward. The long-term reward is not eternal life for us human beings, at least not literally. The legacy is the continued prosperity of following generations. We may have touched upon, Jewish viewpoints of the afterlife at different times. It is worthy of a different of a discussion at some point, whether here or elsewhere. But I think that Alter underlines this important aspect of it, right? We are not doing this for a reward in a theoretical next life. We are doing this for now. and for the next generations. Everybody good, or you want to throw something in? Okay. So moving on to verse 14. Sod Adonai lireyav uvrito lahodiam. The counsel of Adonai is for those who fear God. To them, God makes known God's covenant. In other words, if you're following God, you're going to understand better what God asks of you. And then in 15, Einei tamid el Adonai ki hu yotzi mereshed ragli. My eyes are ever toward Adonai, for God will loose my feet from the net. I didn't know that a basketball game had broken out. And why are we hanging upside down in a net? What are we talking about here? Alter explains that this metaphor of a net, I mean, a net, not a net like a person, like a woman named the net. All right. Anyway, the metaphor frequently used in Psalms is taken from the nets used to trap birds and small game. In other words, the writers of Psalms really likes talking about, imagining one being trapped as a small animal is trapped, or either thinks of it as a possibility or fears the possibility. And the idea is that, all right, if we are indeed trusting in God, then our the net will not trap us. So this is a metaphor that we're going to see other times. So I hope you like tennis. Okay. All right. Verse 16. Let's see. Yeah. Hello. Sorry, guys. All right. Pnei elai v'choneni ki achid v'ani ani. Turn to me, have mercy on me, for I am alone and afflicted. By the way, this is one of those times where reading the Hebrew is really kind of fun, because ki achid v'ani ani. Right, you get the the repetition there, but ani, right? Ani with an aleph means I, right? First person singular. Ani with an ayin means poor, impoverished. And yachid means alone. So it's almost like by saying yachid ani, it's like we're saying, it's like I'm alone. I am alone. It's kind of like that. So this is one of those times where the sound really does make a difference in our understanding.
Yeah, and it's extra emphasis, right?
Yeah, yeah. Even though both the two anis are mean different things, but like the just in terms of sound, the sound can kind of emphasize this sense of aloneness.
Right.
To what extent would they have actually been the same sound at that time, at the time the Psalms were written?
So
I mean, definitely had also some. I mean, obviously, some pronunciation that then the Greeks would transcribe as a G. That's why, for example, Gaza was, which is just Aza.
Right, and I remember somebody that I knew that was visiting in Israel was telling me that he had just been in a cab with a I don't know if he knew or whether anybody, like where this person was from, but he was saying all of his ayns in a, in a like a very guttural way, right?
I
Whether
think Yemeni Hebrew is pronunciation is like that.
yeah, no, I hear somebody like, yeah, no, so
In Arabic too, like
yeah,
Arab,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
so if we were to then, let's say we were to kind of attribute a sort of like a hard G-ish sound to the ayin, Vagani Ani, I guess might be more like that. There's still a
Still
rhyme.
rhymes. Yeah.
Still a rhyme. Yeah, no. So no, but that's a fair point. Um, yeah, if you were to yeah, I mean, but look, just as a reminder of how language just continues to evolve. This I know this is going to sound like completely random. There was a commercial for um, dishwashing detergent. I don't know if you've seen this, where like a plumber comes over, like where the plumber is talking to the person in the commercial, and and it's like because like the dishwasher is broken or whatever it is, and the plumber looks at the people and says, "Oh, I think I know what the problem is. It's your detergent." This is in a nationally shown commercial. And I'm like, and I've seen it several times. Like, does he really say detergent? Have you ever heard this? Detergent?
Rabbi,
I
could you move your line up so I could see the Hebrew for 16, please?
Okay, sure.
Thank
You,
you.
No
you
problem,
mean
no problem.
you mean with a hard G?
Yeah, like yeah, detergent. Have you ever heard anybody say that?
I think I
May,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, look, maybe I'm the naive. I mean, look, maybe I'm the naive one when it comes to this, but I've never heard anybody say detergent all my life, and then here it is in a nationally televised commercial about detergent. It was just weird to me. But again, maybe there's somebody who knows more about it. So
Maybe
language is always,
maybe it was
tricky.
AI generated.
You gotta wonder sometimes. You gotta wonder these days. Um, okay, so now in 17, Sarot Levavi Hirchivu Mimetsu Kotai Hotzieni. My deep distress increases. Deliver me from my straits. All right. My deep distress, which is literally here, it says the distress of my heart. So tsarot levavi, right? The distress of my heart. It's only getting more and more. Deliver me from my straits. I find that a very, I don't know. I find that kind of a saying straits, like deliver me from having to listen to another song by Dire Straits, which is a band. But no, it's not that. Um, but it's the idea that please, uh, I mean, we're in the we're still in the supplication mode, and that continues in 18. Re'e onyi v'amali v'sa l'chol chatotai. Look at my affliction and suffering, and forgive all my sins. Now, this is, as I indicated last time, this is one of the places where the whole acrostic thing falls apart because this verse we're looking at now, 18 and then 19, they both begin with the letter resh. So much for uh, one one letter per verse, or one, what I'm saying. Now, something that is very interesting, though, that Alter suggests, he says, it is a plausible scholarly conjecture that instead of the verb re'e at the beginning of the verse as we have it, there was originally another verb beginning with the missing letter kuf. And perhaps that verb would have been kishov, which means hearken to. So he's theorizing that this really could have been, verse 18 really should have began with the word kishov instead of re'eh, and then the acrostic would have been more intact. It's an interesting idea. It's hard to know, of course, to what extent it's maybe scribal error or even the sloppiness of the writer, right? I mean, the writer may have been a little, it might have been a little sloppy. That's always possible. Re'eh oivai ki rabu v'sinat chamas seneuni. See how numerous my enemies are and how unjustly they hate me. So again, we had in verse 7 the idea that, yeah, please.
I was just saying, is there just hate? That just sorry. I was just
Is there just hate?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's sort of like the phrase we always use around Tisha B'Av, that why that why was the second temple destroyed? It was because of the Jews hurting other Jews. It was because of sinat chinam, of needless hatred, as opposed to
Oh,
hatred that we really need. It was sinat chinam. But
point made.
no, it's okay, how see how I guess see how ridiculous their hatred, how absurd their hatred is. I guess I don't know. Maybe that's a way to look at it. And maybe the idea is, all right, yes, I have made mistakes in the past, but for that to rise to the level of hate is too much. Seems to be his or her overall point. As we get to near the end, Shemra nafshi v'hatzileni al evosh ki chasiti vach. Protect and save me. Protect me and save me. Let me not be disappointed, for I have sought refuge in you. Remember, at the very beginning of the psalm, we talked about this idea of let me not be disappointed. And may those who follow you, may you not be disappointed in them. So now we have that envelope structure that, just as we talked about asking God to refrain from disappointment, we ask, for that also at the end of the psalm. Which makes us wonder, what else do we have to talk about? Well, we do have to finish the acrostic, right? Tom vayosher yitzruni ki kiviticha. May integrity and uprightness watch over me, for I look to you. And then you get, and then the last verse, it's like, that the song in Sesame Street, one of these things is not like the other. One of these things just doesn't belong, right? If you ever watched Sesame Street with people's kids, they sing this song. One of these things is not like the other. Which one doesn't belong? This is the final verse, and it doesn't seem to really belong. Pedeh Elohim ad Yisrael mikol tsarotav. Oh God, redeem Israel from all its distress. Okay, this is completely out of place. It's not a bad thought. It's not a bad, thing to say. However, every other verse of this psalm is talking about personal redemption, about personal struggles and asking for, for God to watch over and for the enemies to be foiled, etc., etc. It talks about a personal plight. Now, all of a sudden, redeem Israel. It's a national plight all of a sudden, right at the end. And then, whereas the acrostic was pretty much kept to, yes, a couple of exceptions, but pretty much kept to, we go from the letter Tav, where you figure that we would end, to the letter Pei. Okay.
Just in the middle.
kind of, so this is one of those points where, as Alter puts it, one suspects that the verse was added by an editor as a conclusion from a repertory of stock verses.
I mean, I can sort of, I mean, when I saw this right now, I thought, oh yeah, someone was copying the psalm, and whoever the scribe was had this, yeah, basically put that in the margin and said, oh, God redeem Israel from all its distress, and then it stuck.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that's yeah. I mean, so very possible, very
I
possible.
mean,
So
it's just
yeah,
sort of a
Marcus, what this reminds me of is sometimes when I don't know when you're writing a proposal and you've got this great line and you have to figure out where to stick it.
yeah.
yeah,
We're
yeah.
doing this for the good of the people.
Right, right, exactly. So yeah, so that's just it happens in editing. It happens in, oh, I just can't. I just need to throw this in. Sort of like how the very end of Abbey Road. They had this beautiful ending, the song called The End, and then you wait 20 seconds and all of a sudden, Her Majesty's a pretty nice girl, and she, da, 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 da. Like they can't help themselves. They need to throw in that last part, even though it's completely off of it. So consider this the Her Majesty line of Psalm 25. How about that?
Well, is it a phrase that gets repeated in other places in Psalms?
It's Alter doesn't mention that it does, but I don't know. But I mean, but is it a common talking point
Yeah.
or common? It is. That it is. So in 2 weeks, I thank you for putting up with somewhat unconventional, the unconventional time and also the unconventional place where I'm doing this. I should be in a more normal setup 2 weeks from tonight, and
So, quick
we'll go to
question. How was
yeah.
I supposed to know that we changed to 6 o'clock?
I mentioned it in the beginning of the last class, and I also
Oh, I see.
put it in my weekly Friday email that in which I put my video and other things. So,
And
All right.
and I
Yeah,
had it in my
it
planner.
was supposed to be new news, but got screwed up.
Yeah,
yeah.
you still still says 6:30. That's why I was a little late.
Okay,
Well,
okay.
I had
And-
it in my planner
Let me
at
know.
6, 7, and then just didn't notice it. So it happens. But
yes,
I
yes.
enjoyed what I got to hear.
I did the same thing. I had it on the calendar, but then I forgot and got busy. Said, "Oh, it's after 6."
Yeah, it's okay. Listen, and you can always go back to my YouTube and watch the first part if you want.
Exactly.
So, okay. So sorry for any inconvenience, and we'll see you next time.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay.
Good
Thank you.
evening.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you.